Hi, yes.
Hi, Shawan.
Today I want to ask you a very fundamental question about Bitcoin. So currently Bitcoin is at 90K USD levels, which is in INR somewhere around 82 lakhs INR. But it back in October it went to a record high of 125K USD. So somewhere around in terms of INR 1 crore 10 lakhs. So my question to you is, since it has almost fallen around 25 to 30% since its record high back in October, uh, whether a bigger fall is possible in Bitcoin, and like, can we see Bitcoin reaching at a level of around 20, 25K USD, which it was hovering at back in 2022 or 2023, that kind of level, or maybe even further down to, let's say, 10,000 USD. So some can Bitcoin fall to that level?
Yeah, I think short answer is it's definitely possible. But if we look at the likelihood, I think it's not so likely for it to happen. If you look at the 2022 scenario, there were some black swan events, you can say. For example, there was the FTX collapse, right? Which was one of the major reasons why a lot of people started dumping almost all the crypto assets, including Bitcoin. And I think it reached, as you mentioned, like 15,000 USD level or 20,000 USD level. And yeah, since that Black Swan event, we've had some positive change of events. Like I think in 2024 January, we had the ETFs that got approved in the US. Then we also had President Trump winning the elections around November. I think that was another uptick in the Bitcoin chart. And as we keep getting more positive regulatory changes, we can expect the price to go up. And if we have black swan events, then definitely the price can go down.
So what can trigger this black swan event that you are talking about? Like, what will be the
Yeah.
trigger for such an event?
Yeah. So I think the black swan itself, like, maybe implies that, it's something totally unforeseen or totally like a very black history event, you could say. Like, and for instance, one of the major threats to black Bitcoin is, let's say, quantum computing. If you try to search for reasons why Bitcoin may go down, you will come across these kind of reasons, right? And to be very honest, if we have quantum computing that can break the Bitcoin blockchain, then we might as well assume it can break everything else. So Bitcoin is not going to be the only thing that falls in that kind of a black swan event, right? So that would be my reply to what could be like a black swan event.
Okay, so now I need you to elaborate a little bit on the scenario of quantum computing that you're talking about.
Sure. So to keep it very simple, let's say we have all used zip files, right? We have put a password on the zip file. We have sent it to a friend. We have asked a friend, "Here is the password. Please unlock it." Uh, Zip files are very compromisable. So if someone else receives that file without the password, they can, for example, try to brute force and try to open this file, right? And they will start with a password combination one, then they will enter two. So they can write a script to automate this, and it will keep trying. So modern cryptography is strong enough so that if you have brute force attacks, and even if you use supercomputers to crack them, based on current computing uh, architecture, it will take, let's say, 1,000,000 years or something like that to crack open something that has been encrypted with modern cryptography, right? But quantum computing comes in and changes that. And basically, the premise is that if a quantum computer has been tuned for the task of decrypting encrypted string, like it has specially purpose built not a generic quantum computing, but special purpose built quantum computer. So it can finish that task, which might take, let's say, 10,000 years. It can do it in, let's say, 1 month or 1 week, for example, right? So something that might have taken a million years, it could do it in, let's say, 1 year or something like that. So this idea that quantum computing changes the very foundation of how things are operated and done is kind of a threat to the Bitcoin blockchain. And if you ask, then what is the solution? So the solution is then to use a new, more modern cryptography algorithm that is kind of already taking care of quantum computing attacks, right? So that is definitely possible, but it involves architecture change on a very core level. So yeah.
How far do you think we are from quantum computing?
Honestly, I'm not so up to speed in what the community is saying, etc. But I would say nothing to worry about. In, let's say, assuming quantum computing is getting better every year, and let's say we can see a clear roadmap that in 10 years, very fine-tuned quantum computers built for cracking cryptography are available, then I would say the communities will start preparing so that existing traditional finance banks, etc., they start using anti or more stronger cryptography methods to prevent quantum computing hacks. So I don't know how far it is, but once we do realize that this is getting more and more possible, then systems can start migrating to protect themselves from it.
Great, great. So one more question in this would be, what about the whales who are holding a larger amount of Bitcoin, and what is the possibility how they can affect the demand and supply of Bitcoin and make the move the price of Bitcoin to the back to the levels of 2022 or 2023. Is that possible?
Yes, I think definitely possible. And since this is a hypothetical scenario, as you mentioned, what could be other black swan events? So similar to FTX, let's say we have major holders for Bitcoin, like MicroStrategy owns maybe roughly 600,000 plus Bitcoins, and then BlackRock's ETF, I think, has around 800,000 Bitcoins. So these are very huge numbers, right? Now, a Black Swan event might suddenly be like BlackRock decides to sell all of their Bitcoin, or MicroStrategy decides to sell all of their Bitcoin. Then this could really, you know, uh, like a cascading down fall for the market. So these things are definitely possible. How likely is it? If you ask me that question, I don't think there is any benefit like these companies would have by crashing, because they're basically being built on top of the Bitcoin future, right? So it is possible, but I don't think it is likely for it to happen.